We are continuing to bring you the stories of congressional candidates who are making 2018 a record year for women. According to Time magazine, the number of Democratic women likely challenging House incumbents is up 350% from 2016. One of the districts preparing for such a midterm election is Florida's 18th district, which sits just north of the president's winter White House in Mar-a-Lago. And while Mr. Trump beat Hillary Clinton there by 9 points, 2 women have stepped forward to challenge incumbent Republican Congressman Brian Mast in the upcoming election. Joining me now, Democratic candidate for Florida's 18th district, Lauren Baer. She served as a senior policy advisor to Secretaries Clinton and Kerry in the State Department. Lauren, thank you so much for being with us tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for having me, Casey.
First of all, I just want to ask you broadly, why did you decide now to get involved in politics? Is this something that you had thought about doing? Clearly, you played a role on Hillary Clinton's campaign, so you've been involved in public policy. But what is it about this moment in time that had you decide that you wanted to make a run?
Well, I never actually played a role in Hillary Clinton's campaign. I was a person of the world of policy, not politics. I spent 6 years as a senior official in the State Department, but I had a daughter who was born 2 weeks before Donald Trump was elected president. And I think just about every day about her future and my responsibility for creating the kind of world that I want her to live in. Now, I'm also inspired here by my mother, who's been chronically ill for more than 2 decades and was one of more than 74,000 people in my district who stood to lose health care when Brian Mast voted to repeal the Affordable Care Act. So for me, the decision to move from the policy world to the politics world was inspired by my own mother and my own daughter, but it's really just about all of the mothers and daughters and sons in my district and the need to start making Washington work for them again. I feel like we have a crisis in Washington right now where it's not really governing, and it's about time we send representatives who are going to honestly vote in the interests of their own constituents.
If you were elected to the Congress, would you support Nancy Pelosi to lead the Democratic Party in the House?
Well, I'll have to tell you that I'm interested in seeing a diverse slate of candidates up for leadership of the party. I think that's important that we have some competition, and I would assess any candidates that were put before me at such time. But I can say that that's a decision to be made if at such point as I am fortunate enough to be elected, but not now.
Would you want Nancy Pelosi to come campaign for you?
I think when it comes to anyone coming to campaign for me, the question is, do they share my values? Are they standing behind what we're...
does she?
I think broadly the Democratic Party does, and when it comes to any particular strategic decision about who might come out on the campaign trail, that's a decision to be made at a particular point in time. But for me, I'm a proud member of the Democratic Party, and I'm proud of what the Democratic Party stands for, which is a party that is genuinely there for all Americans, regardless of race, religion, creed, regardless of who they are or where their parents might have come from. And my concern right now is that we have Republican leadership which seems to be interested in just the select few.
Bernie Sanders mounted a very strong challenge to Hillary Clinton for the Democratic nomination in 2016, and he did it in part by running on ideas such as Medicare for all. Are you supportive of Medicare for all as a policy?
Well, I think first and foremost what we need to do is shore up the Affordable Care Act. We have a health care law on the books, and Republicans seem intent on dismantling it limb by limb. If you look at the repeal of the individual mandate, which came in the tax bill, that alone would cause approximately 31,400 people within my own district to lose health care. So I can certainly say that my first priority Congress when it came to health care would be shoring up the law that we already have, stabilizing insurance markets, and making sure that we're working to keep premiums and deductibles down for people. Now, beyond that, I do believe that health care is a fundamental human right, and I'm willing to entertain whatever pieces of legislation would be put before me to vote on. But I really think that the first matter of priority ought to be shoring up the existing health care law.
Do you support President Trump's decision to move the U.S. Embassy to Jerusalem?
I think it's a very dangerous decision. I think there is a reason that despite the fact that we have recognized for decades now that Jerusalem would be the capital of the state of Israel, that it threatens our national security and it undermines the peace process to move our embassy there now. So I think that's a potentially quite destructive policy when it comes to looking to continue to have a two-state solution. So my real concern there is that it undermines the peace process.
I also just want to ask you quickly, your own personal background. You would bring some diversity to the Congress with your background and support for LGBT issues. What role will that play in the course of your campaign, your own personal family background?
Well, as you point out, Casey, I'm proudly married to a woman. We have a lovely daughter who's 15 months old. But when I'm on the campaign trail, it's not about LGBT rights. It's about equal rights for all Americans, regardless of their race, religion, background. Now, I happen to think that when we send folks to Congress who represent the diversity of America, we all benefit. And so that's really what the heart of my campaign is about really fighting for the broad range of people who live in my district and making clear that they deserve a representative in Washington who's going to fight for legislation that benefits all of them and not just a select few.
Lauren Baer, thank you very much for your time tonight. I really appreciate it.